Your words are weapons you keep handing to your enemies. Right now, someone is collecting your sentences like ammunition, storing them like grenades, waiting for the perfect moment to detonate them against you. That confession you made in confidence, it's now their leverage. That moment of honesty, it's their advantage. That vulnerability you shared, it's their proof of your weakness. You believe conversations vanish. You think spoken words evaporate into the universe without consequence. You assume what you say stays between you and the listener. This is the deadliest misconception of the modern age. Every fallen giant fell because of sentences they wish they could unsay. Every shattered empire collapsed because someone spoke too freely. Every broken relationship died because a loose tongue betrayed a sacred trust. The ancient philosophers understood a truth we've buried. Your words are your most lethal adversary. They expose your plans, broadcast your insecurities, and deliver your enemies the exact tools they require for your destruction. Niccolo Machiavelli dedicated himself to studying dominance, and he uncovered the singular, most important reality. Those who command their words command their futures. Those who don't become instruments of their own undoing. In the following minutes, you'll learn 10 psychological mechanisms that transform your words into your executioner. These traps ensnare everyone, but only the intelligent escape them before the damage becomes permanent. Drop this affirmation in the comments if you're prepared to seize control. I speak only for advantage. Number 1. Anger as confession. Rage is the mind's security breach. When fury overwhelms you, your mental defenses collapse and your mouth transforms into an interrogation room. Every hurt you've buried, every resentment you've concealed, every shameful thought you've suppressed, they all erupt like molten pressure. The person who angered you isn't your adversary in that instant. They're your interrogator. They've discovered the perfect method to extract your deepest truths. While you're experiencing righteous anger, they're conducting intelligence gathering on who you actually are beneath the facade. Rage makes you transparent. Once someone understands what ignites your fury, they possess you. They can activate your anger anytime they need you to confess, stumble, or annihilate your own reputation. Your fury becomes their control mechanism. The most dangerous element isn't the content of your words, it's the witness. Your moment of fury transforms into their permanent database of your genuine nature. Your temporary emotional loss becomes their lasting arsenal against you. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." Command originates with commanding yourself. If you cannot restrain your mouth when consumed by anger, you will never command anything genuinely important. Your rage isn't noble, it's weakness disguised as strength. The genuinely powerful experience anger but never reveal it. They metabolize rage privately and act strategically. They comprehend that today's emotional outburst turns into tomorrow's weapon for their opposition. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My anger strengthens me. Number 2, the success trap. Victory intoxicates more dangerously than any substance. When you're ascending, your ego demands recognition. You crave visibility for your abilities. You hunger for credit for your mastery. You need witnesses to your brilliance. This hunger for praise destroys more winners than defeat ever achieves. Every explanation of your victory is a training manual for your rivals. Every disclosure of your technique is a blueprint for those plotting your defeat. Every detail you broadcast about your systems becomes an instruction guide for your replacement. The appetite for acknowledgement is a snare that captures even exceptional minds. They cannot resist articulating their genius. They cannot refrain from trumpeting their triumphs. They transform from mysterious victors into transparent casualties with every utterance. Your rivals aren't celebrating your win, they're dissecting it. They're not appreciating your strategy, they're replicating it. They're not your spectators. They're your coming adversaries, furnished with your personal intelligence. Machiavelli once said, "A wise ruler ought never to keep faith when by doing so it would be against his interests." Explaining your victory appears like honoring those who helped you, but it sabotages your advantage to mentor your competitors. Your dedication must be to your next victories, not to your previous allies' curiosity. Genuine titans feel triumph internally and communicate externally Only when silence generates more complications than revelation, they grasp that silence multiplies power while explanation annihilates it. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My victories speak without sound. Number 3, the alcohol interrogation. Alcohol doesn't manufacture new thoughts. It demolishes the walls that contain dangerous thoughts. Every drink compromises your mental security. Every glass dismantles your protection. Every bottle transforms you into an intelligence resource for anyone disciplined enough to stay sober. The most precious secrets are extracted not through force, but through wine. Individuals expose their betrayals, broadcast their intentions, acknowledge their terror, and unveil their schemes when psychological barriers disintegrate. What demands years of strategic observation can be extracted in a single intoxicated night. Professional infiltrators excel at liquid manipulation. They manufacture relaxed atmospheres, supply continuous alcohol, and pose deceptively simple queries while their subjects become progressively more forthcoming. They document everything while you remember nothing. Your drunken confessions transform into sober repercussions. That admission regarding your romantic struggles transforms into evidence in custody battles. That exposure regarding your financial troubles transforms into intelligence for hostile actors. That moment of genuine connection becomes permanent destruction. Machiavelli once said, "Therefore, a prince, so long as he keeps his subjects united and loyal, ought not to mind the reproach of cruelty." Be ruthless with your own desires when alcohol flows. Your fleeting urge to disclose and connect will generate permanent harm to your standing. The fleeting pleasure of divulging turns into the persistent anguish of exposure. Intelligent operators consume strategically or abstain completely. They recognize that in a realm where recording devices are everywhere, every intoxicated utterance becomes usable evidence. They prioritize sobriety over social bonding when stakes are elevated. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My clarity is my strength. Number 4, pressure as weapon. Strain exposes essence, and the majority discover their essence is weaker than imagined. When demands multiply, schedules tighten, and burdens increase, the professional exterior shatters. What surfaces is frequently disturbing, brittle, and completely exploitable by those comprehending human behavior. Pressure manufactures desperation, and desperation manufactures revelation. Under strain, individuals acknowledge they're unprepared, disclose their hardships, and admit they're deteriorating. They imagine they're requesting assistance, but they're actually handing their opposition targeting information. The most hazardous pressure confessions happen within your closest relationships. You disclose your professional struggles to family, discuss your romantic problems with companions, and confess your inadequacies to colleagues. Each revelation manufactures a vulnerability that can be weaponized subsequently. Your breaking moment isn't authentic connection. It's deliberate exploitation. While you're managing emotional pain, others are engineering your destruction. Your pressure becomes their extraction opportunity, their competitive advantage, or their setup for your collapse. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." When you shatter under strain, you activate neither respect nor affection. You activate contempt. Individuals dismiss those incapable of managing strain professionally. Your moment of breakdown becomes their lasting evaluation of your strength. Strain isn't your antagonist. Your reaction to strain is. Master your reaction, and strain transforms into a mechanism for neutralizing fragile competitors who expose themselves under pressure. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Pressure creates strength. Number 5, the sympathy operation. Sophisticated manipulators don't strike openly. They project vulnerability. They manufacture carefully engineered stories of hardship, reveal strategic deficiencies, and position you as their rescuer. While you're experiencing significance and necessity, they're extracting every valuable secret you contain. The sympathy mechanism functions because it reverses control. Instead of experiencing danger, you experience protectiveness. Instead of shielding secrets, you broadcast them to assist. Instead of maintaining separation, you construct intimacy later weaponized. Genuine vulnerability is unpolished and raw. Performed vulnerability is refined and calculated. Develop the skill to recognize authentic suffering versus strategic performance. The person delivering the flawlessly constructed narrative is frequently the deadliest predator present. Your compassion transforms into their strategic advantage. Every secret you disclose to aid them becomes information they weaponize against you. Every insecurity you broadcast in reciprocal honesty becomes ammunition for subsequent attacks. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple of mind and so much dominated by their immediate needs that a deceitful person will always find plenty who are ready to be deceived." Your immediate compulsion to assist and bond makes you susceptible to deception. While you're practicing decency, they're practicing dominance. Your generosity becomes their instrument. Authentic authority assists without disclosing vulnerabilities. It supports without transmitting secrets. It manifests kindness without manifesting weakness. Acquire this equilibrium or transform into sustenance for those who have already learned to consume you. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I support without exposure. Number 6, the intelligence economy. Social ecosystems function on information as currency. Every secret disclosed, every opinion articulated, every confidence betrayed holds market value in the interpersonal economy. When you participate in information sharing, you're not simply passing hours. You're engaging in commerce. And most individuals are terrible traders. The information marketplace operates on elementary principles. Data transfers upward toward authority, and treachery transfers downward toward vulnerability. The individual who gathers information without dispersing it accumulates control. The individual who distributes information without gathering becomes powerless. Every workplace, every peer network, every society possesses information merchants. They appear fascinated, trustworthy, and well-connected. But they're operating intelligence networks where your information is the merchandise and your confidence is the transaction expense. The most hazardous element of information distribution isn't what you communicate about others, it's what it demonstrates about you. Every secret you broadcast demonstrates your untrustworthiness. Every confidence you sacrifice publicizes your unreliability. Every piece of information you distribute becomes data on your integrity. Machiavelli once said, "The way men live is so far removed from the way they ought to live that anyone who abandons what is for what should be pursues his downfall rather than his preservation." You imagine information distribution ought to be harmless social activity. The reality is information combat, where your secrets are exchanged like assets. While you concentrate on what ought to be, others exploit what truly is. A commercial space for intelligence. Control the information marketplace by transforming yourself into a collector rather than a broadcaster. Absorb everything. Contribute nothing valuable. Monitor as others self-destruct with their own unguarded words. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Secrets arrive to me. Number 7, the authority challenge trap. When authority challenges you inequitably, every instinct demands vindication. You yearn to defend yourself, establish your importance, and demonstrate your ability. This instinct is a snare that ruins careers, dissolves relationships, and demolishes standing. Authority doesn't desire your justifications. It desires your surrender. The majority of authority challenges are evaluations disguised as confrontations. They're engineered to establish whether you tolerate strain, embrace input, and sustain professionalism under assault. When you respond emotionally, you neglect the evaluation and substantiate their assessment of your limitations. The neutrality you demand doesn't operate in hierarchical systems. The recognition you expect must be constructed through performance, not demanded through argumentation. The clarity you request will never materialize from opposing those controlling your trajectory. Your self-defense becomes your accusation. Every term you speak defending yourself becomes proof of your powerlessness to shoulder responsibility. Every rebuttal you present demonstrates your shortage of judgment to comprehend when restraint surpasses speech. Machiavelli once said, "Politics have no relation to morals." The ethical outrage regarding unjust judgment is irrelevant to your development. Authority operates through alternate protocols than ethics. Your option is elementary. Accommodate these protocols or transform into their casualty. Intelligent operators address authority challenges through strategic accommodation, accompanied by remarkable execution. They demonstrate their importance through performance, not through argument. They recognize that today's unjust judgment can transform into tomorrow's breakthrough if handled intelligently. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Results demonstrate everything. Number 8, the vengeance disclosure trap. When connections terminate in betrayal, you control devastating information, their vulnerabilities, their anxieties, their collapse, and their failings. The desire to weaponize this information feels like righteousness, but retribution through disclosure is a self-destruction method that harms you more than your objective. Every connection is a bilateral information contract. You understand their fragilities and they understand yours. When you commence broadcasting their vulnerabilities, you're not merely assaulting them. You're marketing yourself as someone who weaponizes confidential details. Spectators, authorities, and companions consistently evaluate how you handle connection endings. They're assessing whether you're trustworthy with classified information. Your retribution transforms into their appraisal of your character. The most destructive element of vengeance disclosure isn't the immediate injury to your objective. It's the prolonged deterioration of your standing. Everyone discovers that you're prepared to disclose secrets when damaged. Your dependability transforms into garbage. Machiavelli once said, "Severities should be dealt out all at once so that their suddenness may give less offense. Benefits ought to be handed out drop by drop so that they may be relished the more. If you must seek vengeance, exercise it through operations untraceable to disclosed confidences. Maintain your standing for restraint while using alternate methods to balance accounts. Your restraint maintains your authority for subsequent conflicts. Sophisticated authority competitors handle devastation through strategic restraint. They maintain information as prospective control rather than expending it for instantaneous gratification. They recognize that protected information surpasses exposed information in authority. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Silence is my retribution. Number 9, the confidence illusion. When you experience self-doubt or ambiguity, your mouth compensates by displaying assurance, mastery, and prominence. This adaptation is mental performance that deceives nobody and broadcasts everything. Your compulsion to substantiate yourself transforms into substantiation of your insufficiency. Insecurity manufactures verbal desperation. You reference connections to project influence, over-articulate to project knowledge, and interrupt to project importance. Each conduct amplifies the opposite of your objective. Your presentation transforms into everybody else's entertainment. Legitimate ability requires no marketing. Authentic expertise requires no clarification. Genuine assurance requires no permission. When you perpetually demonstrate these characteristics through words, you establish you don't maintain them through deed. The most hazardous element of confidence illusion is predictability. Individuals discover specifically which mechanisms trigger your compulsion to substantiate. They recognize how to influence you into broadcasting information, adopting flawed approaches, or sabotaging yourself. Machiavelli once said, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." The danger of appearing unprepared feels immense when you're insecure. But the magnitude danger is establishing your unpreparedness through anxious overcompensation. Your anxiety regarding appearing fragile transforms you into fragile. Learn to demonstrate your capacity through your performance rather than via unending self-advocacy. They're at ease with others not instantly comprehending their importance because they're convinced in their capacity to demonstrate it when significance emerges. Number 10, the promise entrapment. When facing demands, strain, or obligations you can't satisfy immediately, your words begin generating commitments your reality cannot honor. Commitments feel like remedies because they resolve immediate circumstances without requesting immediate capability. But every commitment generates a responsibility that multiplies over time. Promise-making is the communication of the desperate. It's what individuals execute when they don't contain immediate responses to existing circumstances. Instead of handling actuality, they manufacture fantasy tomorrows that never materialize. Instead of generating genuine worth, they generate unfounded expectations. The mechanism of commitments is attractive because they demand nothing up front. You can guarantee to transform, advance, supply, or achieve without any preceding commitment. Settlement arrives subsequent when standing is decimated and loyalty is demolished. Every unmet commitment transforms into prosecution data on your reliability. Every shattered pledge demonstrates your communication carries no substance. Every failed warranty demonstrates you prioritize fleeting reprieve over lasting standing. Machiavelli once said, "He who builds on the people builds on the mud." Commitments are constructed on anticipation, which is as fragile as silt. Individuals hunger to accept your guarantees because it resolves their circumstances too. But when guarantees crumble, both constructor and support deteriorate together. Tactical operators distribute fewer commitments and accomplish beyond anticipation rather than broadcasting enormous guarantees they cannot execute. They underestimate and outperform, constructing standing for dependability rather than communication. Your mouth has been sabotaging you throughout your lifetime, and you probably remained oblivious. Every dialogue is a prospective catastrophe where a solitary mistake can demolish years of calculated positioning. Every social moment is a competition where your communication is either calculated action or catastrophic blunder. The 10 circumstances we've investigated aren't exceptional occurrences. They're routine happenings occurring to every individual surrounding you right now. The distinction between casualties and champions isn't brilliance or circumstance. It's recognizing that communication carries weight and restraint carries authority. Machiavelli recognized what almost everyone neglects to comprehend. The competition for existence is conquered not by those who broadcast their perspectives, but by those who master their perspectives before they communicate. Every utterance you disclose either amplifies your situation or deteriorates it. Every silence either safeguards you or forfeits a possibility. In a realm where documentation is endless, memories are long, and everything potentially becomes ammunition, your communicative restraint transforms into your greatest advantage. Your capacity to speak strategically rather than reactively decides whether you'll govern your trajectory or develop into a casualty of your own communication. The maximum prosperous individuals throughout civilization weren't the most communicative. They were the most calculated. They transmitted when their communication could construct and stayed quiet when their communication could demolish. They grasped that in the supreme game of authority and sway, your communication can be your greatest tool or your most devastating obstacle. The selection is yours. Will you persist permitting your communication to sabotage your advancement? Or will you learn the historic craft of tactical communication? Will you continue supplying your adversary's data via reckless speech? Or will you enlist alongside individuals comprehending that genuine authority whispers while desperation broadcasts? Your communication will either construct your empire or become the mechanisms others utilize for its demolition. The judgment you make at this instant will establish which direction your trajectory follows. Keep in mind, in a realm saturated with individuals incapable of governing their communication, the individual who commands their mouth commands their existence. If this perspective illuminated how your communication has been weaponized against you, press subscribe now for additional investigations into the shadowy psychology of authority and exploitation. Your prospective self will appreciate you for absorbing these perspectives before it's irreversible.